Welcome to the Feminine Wave, an interview show where we explore feminine energy, how to reclaim a life of purpose, cultivate connections, and experience fulfillment to create a satisfying life in every area, not only for ourselves, but for everyone. Hello, I'm Tara Becker, your host, and along with my friends and guest experts, we will guide you on a journey to unlock your potent femininity. In community, the feminine flourishes. For this reason, we are committed to providing a support space for women seeking to recapture their essence, regain their spark, and live the life of their dreams. Today's episode, we'll be focusing on conscious love, real relationship, where we'll be discussing self-love, familial love, work relationships, society, and romance, and also dating at a certain age. Today's guest is Brett Benson, founder and guide of the Joy Economy. Brett has worked with men's circles and at men's retreats for 20 years, helping men identify their deepest purpose and build emotional expressiveness. He's a co-founder of the Iron John training for men called to step into a brand of authentic masculine that's neither toxic nor misogynistic. His insights help women understand the complexities of emotionally available integrated men. In 2024, he fulfilled a lifetime dream by selling his house and setting out on the road. He's lived for 16 months in a camper van, volunteering at retreats for men and women and spotting miracles wherever he goes. I just want to welcome Brett Benson to the Feminine Wave. It's so wonderful to have you with us today.
Oh, thank you, Tara. It's great to be with you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Well, and what I mentioned in your introduction is that you've been working with men and men's circles for a substantial amount of time, and I know you dedicate a lot of your time to doing that. And I guess I'd like to start off by saying, what patterns have you noticed or are you noticing about what's, going on and with the masculine specifically?
Yeah, thank you. The really what I've noticed changing over the 20 years that I've been working with men's retreats and in men's circles is we are heading into, or actually fully into, an epidemic of loneliness. And that affects men and women, but it particularly affects men, and especially men who are under 40-ish, so younger men. And the rates of addiction and suicide in those groups are just, it's heartbreaking. They're going up like 40% over 6 and 8 years. So there's just something going on in the culture that is leaving men feeling isolated, alone, and they're medicating themselves. And the dots, I'm connecting the dots between that really unfortunate dynamic and something that I've been noticing and hearing as I travel around the country. As you said in the intro, I've been living and traveling in a van for 16 months, and I'm especially interested in connecting with men and women. And I'm hearing from a lot of women about, where are men who are embodying and carrying a powerful masculine presence. It seems like that goal or that energy is really lacking among a lot of men, especially younger men. And there's a clear connection in my mind between those two things, the increasing rates of loneliness and this perception of women that men who are really embodying a healthy, mature masculine are in shorter supply than they used to be.
Well, I can totally feel what you're talking about. I'm going to use that word feel.
Hmm.
Because it's, I mean, the feminine is feeling that as well, the loneliness. And I mean, we could probably break apart, dissect why, and maybe we want to have that conversation. And I want to be sure and have, if we can, some takeaways of what some loose solutions can be to this epidemic. And I, especially with I call it, oh my gosh, the word is self-medicating.
Yeah,
It's rampant. And, and, um, and my sons are in their 30s, so they're not, out of the woods yet. And of course, maybe that will change the older they get, and it'll be under 40. And would you speak to the differences? Like, why is it only under 40? What might be a dynamic in there that you could shed a light on?
sure. Well, first let me speak to solutions because I think the solutions are not complicated, which doesn't mean they're easy, but they're not, they don't require, a big blackboard filled with formulas. The solution is really connection. And I think what has happened is connection used to be something that human beings, men and women, so learned through conditioning growing up. And now we live in a culture where that skill set that is just handed down from one generation to the next. How do I make friends? How do I behave in a way where I'm attracting other people into my life? It's not, it's bouncing off the younger generations. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I think one of the reasons is that we live in a culture that says that any kind of discomfort is a tragedy.
Yeah.
So if it's 71 degrees or if it's 73 degrees, something needs to be changed. And somebody needs to fix that for me. Right? If so, and go, engaging with the world in a way that to make connections with other human beings, to date other human beings, there's a potential for discomfort there. And we have trained people to think, I don't, to avoid discomfort. The risk is just too great. So I stay in my comfortable little bubble and play video games in the basement, or, I don't want to be too generalize or to stereotype, but unless I can be assured of an interaction that's going to go well without discomfort, the risk is too great. So I think that's really why um, you know, there's so much isolation because there's this fear of, hmm, I don't want to run into anything that throws me off center.
Ugh,
And that's where I say and we live in a culture that says if you are feeling off center, you can do something about it. Buy some skin cream or buy, something new. Go out and do something to fix that. And where earlier generations learned that, discomfort is the only game in town. If you're a human being, you're going to encounter discomfort. And the sooner I learn to accept that and even to embrace that, the more resilient I'll be, the more grit I'll have, the more I can interact with you and not worry too much about, oh shoot, something's going wrong here.
yes. Oh, I totally feel that too. Oh man. And I'm I can only imagine that the pandemic had some doing in that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
We were afraid to go outside.
We were afraid, and staying inside was the way to be safe,
Right, right, right.
away from others.
Absolutely, absolutely. Uh, and I guess my a question again is, I mean, what happened to those generations? I mean, is it, do you have an
Well,
opinion on that?
yeah, I think I have an opinion about what has happened and why women and men, for that matter, are sensing um, a less solid masculine energy. Feminine and masculine both want men to be emotionally expressive, emotionally available, and to stand fully in their power and not to shy away from a healthy masculine energy. And we live in a culture where masculinity and toxic masculinity are often used synonymously. So men are conditioned that to be masculine is almost the same as being misogynistic, right? To be masculine is to oppress, is to have power over women. So, and that's just not the case. The healthy masculine is power with the feminine, right? But as we learn that, wow, masculine is very often toxic masculine, we actually a lot of us as men start to feel like, well, we have power under women. We're either over or under the feminine. We're over because we come from a in a patriarchy, so we have power over. But so many men are, so much in our culture is talks about toxic masculinity, which means we have power under women, and there's less and less that's about how can I stand fully in my masculine power, my masculine energy, and be partnered with the feminine. So I think that in that place, it is so confusing for younger men. So the easiest thing to do is withdraw and to, really emphasize feminine behaviors of collaboration and cooperation, which are great. Every man should have those, but not at the expense of their masculine.
Right. Well, and I just know for me, in my experience in the world, because that's really all I have is my experience,
Hmm.
that see, and I'm an older generation, so I've experienced that. I don't even want to call it misogynistic, but that masculine where he had the power over me.
Hmm.
I experienced that in my home, in my workplace. And so what I did was I swayed too much in my masculine to be able to operate in the world where I could feel safe. I had to provide that for myself. And where I'm going with this is by me balancing that out in myself, and where I'm more naturally more in my feminine, it's then feeling safe to go out in the world and interact with the masculine. And how am I know if I'm going to be interacting with the masculine that is like what you're talking about, the one that is more, emotionally available and integrated for
Hmm. I think that's such a key point. What I heard you say is when you really step fully into your feminine essence, it allowed you to step forward more fully into the world, if I heard you right. And I think that's really to tie this back to what I was saying earlier about isolation and suicide and self-medication and addiction. Um, Men and boys are hearing that to be masculine is somehow there's a malfunction there. It's maladaptive. It's abnormal in a way. I'm exaggerating, but not by much. So if I grow up with this sense that who I am at my essence, there's something suspect about that, I'm going to constantly be pushing away and resisting what is really my essence. And for the masculine in particular, there is nothing more painful to be divorced from my essence, to be separated from my mission and my purpose on this earth. So, what do I do with that pain? Well, I numb it out, which is where the addictions come in. And I try to repress my masculinity. The irony is it comes out sideways anyway, often, and that's when I start trying to dominate the feminine. So that's when, the all of the podcasters who inhabit the manosphere and the Andrew Tates of the world and the incel organizations, that's just taken their masculinity and it's shadow masculinity. It's coming out sideways as a way to dominate the feminine. And so I think that's why it's no surprise that even as addiction rates and suicide rates among men are going up, there's also these movements from men about to dominate and conquer and own the feminine. So
right.
we're seeing it on both sides.
Right. And totally the ones who are talking about dominant. I mean, you're already seeing that in what's happening in our country, which is
Hmm.
heartbreaking.
Yep, agree.
And I never thought I'd be this age. I never in a million years dreamt that this is where we would be today from where, say, things were in, say, 1975. And I mean, and everything is happening so quickly, uh, which for me is, I'm going to say, scary, because I can't keep up with what's going on, and maybe I don't need to. And I guess I feel like I need some preparation or some form of protection. And maybe I'm using the wrong words, and I don't know if what I'm saying is landing, only that it's scary for me as the feminine.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you have any words of wisdom that you could share with us, about that.
Yeah. Well, it's not surprising. What you said is entirely reasonable. And I think what we're seeing on a large cultural sense is the same as what we see in a relationship. It's just writ larger. So in a relationship where the feminine doesn't feel safe with a masculine to create a safe container, often what happens is she'll step forward to try to create her own safety, to try to create that own container. And then polarity goes out of the relationship and it starts this vicious downward cycle where she tries to create safety, which leaves him feeling disrespected. So, it just goes down and down. And so, and then multiply that by everything that's going on in our country. So we're all feeling to a greater or lesser degree less safe than we used to. I think that's true. There's so much uncertainty and so much shaky ground now. So what do I do as a masculine? What do I do as a feminine person to respond to that? And I think for me, it becomes even more important to stay grounded in what's known as the axis mundi, which is connected to the above, connected to the below, and connected to the within, this plane, and just stay walking with my feet firmly on the ground, with my head with connected to spirit and continuing to deepen my own experience of myself. It's not novel or new or to say that, but in times of anxiety and fear, what I can do is just radiate security and safety, and the security and safety that comes with my the phrase I always use is my bedrock belonging.
Mm.
So one of the things that anchors me in my masculine is an absolute conviction that I belong here. And when I stand in that bedrock belonging, that creates a sense of safety, or at least an invitation for safety for others around me. And it's an invitation that for them to say, oh, I belong too. And if I belong just because I'm here, it's not because I'm in a tribe or I'm a political party or I'm in this group or that group. I belong because I'm a human being. That's sovereignty. Nothing can shake me from standing in that center, standing in that axis mundi. So it looks different for everybody. What's the practice I have so I can demonstrate that bedrock belonging might be different for you or for somebody else. But I think that's the thing we all can do in these uncertain times.
Oh, that that paints a warm picture in my heart. And I'm so grateful that you do that for us. Thank you.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, yeah. It feels it's why I'm here. Yeah, it's why I'm here.
I I see that. I see that. And I'm sure in the groups the men's groups that you were within, you all practice that. And the ripple that sends out is because us feminine, we need that.
Right. And yes, and you don't always see it. And more important, you don't always feel it. Um, and here's the invitation I think that I give. I go to a lot of retreats and trainings, and I often hear feminine beings saying, wow, we're really appreciative of the masculine beings who are here. It's usually, 20% masculine, 80% feminine. Although it's shifting, it's shifting. Um, and my response to that, for being thanked almost for just showing up, is set a higher bar. Set a higher bar. There is a kind of soft bigotry of low expectations for the masculine, right? That if we can just express an emotion, that wins us a round of applause. And that's just not enough. It's not enough. So it's got to be, especially for the feminine, because the masculine wants to please the feminine, wants to serve the feminine. There is nothing more motivating for the masculine. So if we know it's not just showing up, we got to show up big. We got to show up in our full masculine energy. We got to show up as kings and not princes. The mature masculine, that's a higher bar. And that's something that keeps me on my edge, and it's an invitation for me to be a better man. And most mature men in particular, are going to respond to that, like, oh, I need to step up my game. So hold my invitation for the feminine is hold us accountable, right? For even if the last guy you were with was, not emotionally expressive, don't compare the next guy, with your past partner. It's like, no, I have really high standards, and that's going to be so motivating, much more motivating than the culture we live in, which says, well, men are kind of bumblers anyway, especially in the emotional space. So we should, cut them some slack, and mm, that's one of my pet peeves.
I'm going to take that to heart because I like that. Uh, how did you hold them to a higher standard? Are
Hold
those
them
your,
to a higher standard. Don't settle for the soft bigotry of low expectations, right?
yeah.
Because you said I do work with men a lot, and I am utterly convinced that every man has the capacity and the desire to step fully into his mission, step fully into his power, in a collaborative way, step and with humility, step fully into the man he's supposed to be. I've never seen a man who in trainings, and when they really reach down and feel that, who can't do that. Um, but there's just such low expectations.
So, how or what can the feminine do to encourage that? Or, I mean, because yes, I would love that. And I don't know, and maybe there's nothing to do. Maybe it's just a way of being, but can you shed some light on that? So like I can go out in the world and have
Yeah.
different thought to encourage that happening.
Yeah, well, I'd say there's two things. One is, and this it works from the feminine's perception of the masculine and the masculine's perception of the feminine, right? The masculine looks at the feminine and sees defective men. Like, what is wrong? If I had a buddy like you, we'd do an intervention. And the feminine looks at the masculine and sees defective women. Like, what is wrong with you? So because we start from the assumption that the energy that I experience and the way I am in the world and my experience of the world is normative. This is all human beings are like this. And the truth is, wow, there are such nuanced and complex differences between the masculine and feminine. So the first thing that the feminine can do and the masculine is just understand, oh, I'm not looking at somebody who's just a defective version of me. This is somebody who's got different values, different goals in life, different things that motivate him. And I'm going to really try to understand that. All right, what is that? So that's the first thing. The second thing I would say is it just gets back to what I said earlier, is really understand what is it that motivates the masculine, if there are significant differences at a psychic level, at an energetic level, what's really motivating for the masculine. And I tell you, if I can feel like I'm being of deep service to the feminine, I will run through a brick wall to do that,
Mm.
right? Because there is ultimately for the mature masculine to be able to say, I am adding my life force to the feminine, which is the source of all life on earth. It's one thing just for me to open a door for the feminine. Yeah, that feels good. But if I can really be of service to the feminine at a more profound and powerful level, as a mature masculine man, that there's nothing that is more satisfying than that. So it is, and the way that you can help me with that is to be in your feminine, to understand, to step fully into your essence as a feminine being, and to realize, oh, it feeds you to receive just as much as it feeds me to give. Not 100% of the time and 0% of the time, but it's when that pattern, when that energy exchange is working, that's some really powerful mojo. Um, and let's see, there was a third thing. Well, bear with me here. Oh, um it's really understanding what what gets in the way is the what gets in the way of that kind of energetic exchange where it builds and builds is when polarity gets sidetracked, when polarity gets diminished. Polarity meaning, my standing fully in my masculine attracts the feminine. And if I soften there, if I get squishy or soggy, then that my feminine partner is going to feel more inclined to step into the masculine energy. So it's appreciating what does it take to maintain the polarity? What does it take to cultivate and really grow that polarity in it? So there's this amazing, magical, timeless dance that's happening. And it's just being conscious of that and mindful of that, I think, is really important.
It's interesting that you brought in appreciation because I was thinking appreciation about one and two and appreciation
Mhm.
where you're talking about how can I phrase it? Not make where we think we're each other, meaning,
Mhm.
you're a defective feminine and vice versa, and just appreciating our differences and valuing and being curious and all of that. So it's appreciating all of that. And then number two was I'm going to be appreciative of when you do something for me. And in a very simplistic way, I'm saying it now, but
Mhm.
because I do know that the masculine, and I have that experience, that the masculine does want to serve the feminine. And if I have appreciation for that, I'm coming from a different place. My heart is gonna be big and yummy, and then I'm gonna meet your heart, and it's just gonna be wonderful.
It's so beautiful. There's in the world of physics, they say there's no such thing of the creation of new energy. All the energy in the universe has always been here. And maybe that's true. I'm not a scientist, but I tend to think it is actually possible to create new energy. Because when I get into a cycle like you were just describing, that energy is flowing back and forth, right? It just feels like that wasn't even here 10 minutes ago. All of that, because now, I'm serving the feminine is expressing appreciation, and it's just remarkable how much sometimes I honestly, I can feel little, I don't know, particles of energy hitting my forehead. I'm like, what is going, that is amazing. Right. And that doesn't have to be a once a year kind of experience or some peak mountaintop experience. That can be a thing that exists. Maybe it's not every single day, every hour, but if I'm conscious of it and I cultivate that, I can bring that into my relationship and just say, yeah, that's what we want. That's the best ever relationship here. How do we keep that going? Because man, there's nothing more nourishing than that for both the masculine and the feminine.
Absolutely. And I have to say, I'm in it right now. I
Yeah.
am just, in movies when, sparkles come off your body. That's how I
Hmm.
feel right now. I feel that tingly feeling and kind of back about, I don't know if, you don't ever create new energy. Absolutely. I don't have a scientific mind at all. And maybe it is all here, but maybe there's just a little over there. And so maybe I'm borrowing from somebody else's. I don't
Yeah, yeah.
know. Oh, yes.
A friend I have who is a physicist explained to me that energy is a product of both time and space. So if I can, this is another to the point of how do I create that sort of energetic exchange? The first thing is it's really important for the masculine to be present. So the smaller amount of time I am right in the now. I'm not in yesterday, I'm not in tomorrow, which is a bigger expanse of time. Um, and so if I can be present in the moment and the space is I'm right here with you in this physical space, then the ability, it's like this, flow chart of the XY coordinates, the amount of energy that can be generated in the here and the now is just amazing. And that's when those photons start hitting my head, right? Well, I'm like, this is going back and forth. It's so yeah, there's a word, yeah, it's so incredible. I'm imagining that there's not a lot of swearing on this podcast, so I'm editing myself here, but it's so effing incredible. Yeah. What?
Well, where I go to is for me, I need to trust. For me to be in this exchange of energy with the masculine, I need to trust again that I'm going to be safe. And I could only imagine, I'm speculating, then if the masculine, you're doing your thing, you can allow me, if I trust you, that I can go there energetically.
Hmm.
Let that, my wild, my creative, all of my yummy feminine, if I know that I'm safe in this container or with you, whatever the situation is, again, I am just going to be sparkling.
Right. And that's where men who are living as princes instead of kings don't create the safety that's necessary to for you to sparkle like that. Men who live as princes they're in many ways shying away from the discomfort that that is required to graduate from prince to king. And our culture tells them, yeah, you can stay that way forever if you want. And I want to back up to your question about what else can the feminine do. Um, what separates a prince from a king is really mission in the world and having a deep purpose. That's one of the main things. And so one of the greatest pains in the life of a masculine being is being divorced from purpose. But our culture has so many ways to help that man stay divorced from purpose. I can just sort of check out. I can, even if it's sort of soft medication, I can, entertain myself, all these things that alleviate the pain of being divorced from my mission. So the way to respond to that is from a feminine being is to hold the masculine accountable for having a purpose that's bigger than just the relationship. Right? A lot of women just like, it feels great to be cherished and to be the center of the masculine's attention. But if that's the only thing that man is doing, that's the polarity is going to disappear. So the masculine needs to have a purpose that's bigger than just the relationship. And so the feminine can not just hold the masculine accountable for identifying that, but also removing all the comforts that are kind of softening the call, dulling, damping the call of that purpose, and also appreciating that when he goes out into the world with that purpose, that is a way to feed the relationship.
Oh, thank you. I love that. And
Mm.
I mean, I am just loving all of this information and putting it in context, which for me helps a lot because
Mhm.
I tend to lose my way, so to speak. And I don't hold myself, I don't say I'm bad for that because I am the feminine and I do need to do that. And thank you for explaining it in such a concise manner that, oh, okay, yeah, absolutely. I get that.
Hmm.
Oh,
Well, can I speak to what you just said, Tara? Because the greatest complaint that the masculine has for the feminine is often you're too much. Or that's at least the fear the feminine has, that that's the great. And the greatest complaint that the feminine has for the masculine, or that the masculine fears they're going to hear is you're not enough,
oh God.
right? So, as a masculine being, what I can do is to create an invitation to say, don't turn yourself down. I can hold all of you. I love your storms too. I love the whole feminine, as long as you're not, directing those storms squarely at me in a hostile or abusive way. But that's the feminine fear is the masculine's going to think I'm too much. And the masculine fear is the feminine's going to think I'm not enough. So that's another way. If we both understand that, then the masculine can say, no, baby, I want all of it. And the feminine can say, I'm not gonna, bust your chops because you didn't do that, this or this or that, because I want you to be more. Because both of those things are going to have the effect of just dulling the relationship.
So let me ask this. I'm going to share a story, brief story. So I was in a relationship and I had the thought, I never said it to him. I said it to my feminine friends. He's,
Hmm.
and what looking back, I never gave him the opportunity to be enough. I held back myself because I didn't think he could deliver. And from what I'm getting from you is maybe if I delivered, he could have met me.
Maybe, yeah, and maybe not. I mean, there's a temptation to be the second person to start, right? Like who's got to go first? Does he got to increase his masculine, or do you try to step more fully or inhabit more fully your feminine? And I think it's whoever comes to the realization first, right? So it is possible that if you had said, I'm not going to worry about whether he's enough or not enough, I'm just going to be everything I am. It is remarkable the transformation. When I change my vibration, often my partner's vibration is going to change too. Not always, but often. I mean, it's like, I'm going to try that. I'm going to really focus. And I'm not doing this as a manipulative thing. Like I want you to change. So I'm going to make myself into Superman or woman. I'm just going to fully inhabit my masculine or my feminine. I'm going to see what happens. And so that might have changed the energy in the relationship. Or it might have been that man's stories were and limiting beliefs were so embedded that he was just going to stay stuck as a prince. And then you have a choice at that point.
Right,
It really is like start over here, start over here, start over here,
right.
and see what happens.
And thank you for giving me permission to be me and just step, not that I needed it, but you know what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
because, and looking back, I think I shortchanged us both because I didn't go there.
Hmm.
I made the choice for us.
Right. Yeah. If you're making the choice yeah. Yeah, that's a risky path. And I want to change my language too, because I said for the feminine to step fully into her feminine. That's masculine language. It's just to receive what's already, it's to open fully into the feminine. No stepping or paths or journeys are required. It's just opening, 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 opening
And
to
allowing.
fully allowing, yeah, permitting and receiving. Much better verbs. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think I have those verbs more probably a vocabulary,
Yeah, yeah.
which isn't to say it took me a while. It didn't take me a while to get here. Oh
Hmm.
gosh, this is so rich. And we're almost out of time.
Hmm.
I want to leave it open if there's, more things that I haven't thought of to comment on or ask. And because you're just so rich with wisdom.
Oh, thank you, Tara.
And I don't want, I want to give you more of an opportunity if you have, a couple of more tidbits or an explanation or a story, whatever
Hmm.
you'd like to share. I I am allowing you to step on to whatever that is now.
Thank you. I do have one more thought. I talked earlier about the culture's belief that the purpose of life is to be comfortable. And so then we set up all these structures around us to make sure we're comfortable. And, I've been living on the road and traveling for 16 months, which is not a really comfortable way of life, you know. And what I have learned is really the point of life is to use all of my senses and my intuition and my guidance to experience as much of this place as I possibly can. And if I'm going to limit that by I'm going to say I'm only going to experience the things where I have comfort, man, that just is such a small world. So I am really about now, how do I experience everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the comfortable and the uncomfortable, and just welcome what comes, even if like, oh, this is painful. So that because I've had plenty of challenging moments while I've been on the road, but I'm wanting so much now to experience everything about this place, to really fully appreciate this place. And when I vibrate from that energy, so much comes. The universe has this tremendous bias for me. And I've been saying like I have to duck because the gifts, they're just getting hurled at me. So that's my invitation, to masculine or feminine is like it's not about comfort, it's about experience and just richly diving into that experience and saying yes and watching what happens.
Oh, thank you. I knew you had more to say. Well, before we started talking, that we hit on that experience.
Hmm. Yeah.
And as a lot of us know, it's a duality world. If you want to know happiness, how can you actually know what that is and know what that feels like if you've never felt sadness?
Hmm.
And
They
just
come from the same well. Yep.
absolutely, there's a saying about that, and I don't remember what it is right now, but
Uh-huh.
um, it's all about the experience. And I am loving this experience right now. And I'm tingly and sparkly. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. My wish is that everybody else who watches this at least has just the infinitesimal little experience of what I've had.
Mm.
Because, and the dance with the feminine and masculine, it is absolutely incredible and beautiful. And
Hmm. It really is.
right?
Yeah. Thank you, Tara. And thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed chatting with you.
Oh, this has been wonderful. So thank you again. Be sure to join us next time, where we continue to cultivate feminine power, explore potential, and provide information and tools to elevate your life. In the meantime, visit our website at thefemininewave.org or follow us on our YouTube channel at The Feminine Wave to watch other episodes, share what resonated from today's episode, and suggest future topics. Your feedback is imperative in helping reach more women seeking to reclaim their essence. Until then, catch the swell of the feminine wave and continue creating the life you deserve. This is Tara Becker signing off. Take care, and we'll see you on the airwaves.